According to NFL insider Peter King, Philadelphia actually offered Jonathan Gannon more than what a head coach makes in order to stay in Philadelphia. Also, Jonathan Gannon has now taken a premier assistant from Philadelphia over to Arizona to be their new defensive coordinator. Philadelphia might see a big change in Cam Jurgens' position from center to offensive guard. And Dak Prescott, could he be out of Dallas where they go get CJ Stroud? I'm Thomas Mott. This is The Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome to the Thomas Mott Show on a Monday. It is President's Day and it is the offseason, yet there's a ton of stuff going on with Philadelphia today. Some really weird stories and possibly interesting story as well. We'll get to our Dak Prescott for CJ Stroud possible trade at the end. Stay tuned for all of that. Hit the like button. Let's go. Let's start with the big news of the day. And this came just a couple of minutes ago. This comes from SI.com. Quote, Eagles offer Jonathan Gannon more money to return per Peter King. Now you say, oh, well, obviously they did. We talked about reports last week about Philadelphia wanting to keep Jonathan Gannon. What's crazy though, it wasn't just more defensive coordinator money, it was more head coach type money to come back and be the DC. Listen to this, quote, I love Philly, Gannon told King. I love owner Mr. Lurie. I love Jim Roseman. I love head coach Nick Sirianni. They came back and they were like, here's a new offer. It's going to pay you more than being a head coach. That's cool, and I love it there, but I wanted to be a head coach. I'm excited about this because Mr. Bidwell, Michael, as he would say, GM Monty Ossenfort, and quarterback Kyler Murray. Clearly, the Eagles didn't want to lose both coordinators, something that hasn't happened in the NFL since 2013, when Cincinnati's Marvin Lewis lost Jay Gruden to Washington and Mike Zimmer to Minnesota. Also in King's well-done piece, it is an attempt to explain the 3 easy touchdowns to Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore by utilizing jet sweeps in Kansas City's 38-35 win over Philadelphia and Jonathan Gannon's defense. The whole Peter King Monday morning article is very interesting, but it's fascinating to me that Philadelphia would offer him head coach money to stay. Now, you're probably saying, Thomas, why the heck would they do that? I hate Jonathan Gannon. I can't stand Jonathan Gannon not bringing enough pressure, sitting back and getting shredded by Patrick Mahomes. Well, I do too, and you guys know I've done my fair share of complaining about Jonathan Gannon, but I think Philadelphia does see some potential in Gannon. And remember, Jonathan Gannon was only a 2-year head coach, or a 2-year defensive coordinator. I mean, that young guy, not a lot of experience there. And so much like with Jalen Hurts' first year, and then Jalen Hurts' second year, and then a massive bump into year 3, I think their expectation is that Jonathan Gannon, having a very good defense this year, would learn from his big mistakes against really good quarterbacks and possibly improve to be much better in year 3. Now, that officially is all done. It's all gone. Philadelphia has lost Jonathan Gannon, and now they're interviewing Vance Joseph today, based on a report that I read, and making a couple of other calls for a new defensive coordinator, all of which we will cover here on the Thomas Mott Show. Now, another thing I found interesting, that Jonathan Gannon finally spoke about the Eagles game. Remember, he was not available for the post-game press conference after Super Bowl 57. He basically immediately stayed in Arizona and interviewed for the job and got the Cardinal job. And finally, he's been able to actually been asked about what happened and what went wrong in that 38-point drubbing by Patrick Mahomes on Sunday. And here's what he said. This comes from FMIA. Quote, defensive coordinator of the game, Jonathan Gannon, fell on the sword Sunday when I spoke to him about the plays. Gannon, who got the Cardinals head coaching job Tuesday, told me, our players were prepared. I did not do a good enough job myself to put them in a position to make the plays. I didn't do a good enough job to get out of the call when I wanted out of the call. I didn't give them the tools they needed to win the down. On the second one, I thought Mahomes was going to play that as a drop back, and that coverage was a zero blitz. Jesus Christ wouldn't have covered that in a zero on the Kadarius Toney TD. The Eagles actually had 3 cover players on the other, on the 2 receivers to the right, Travis Kelce inside and Toney outside. Once Toney reversed his jet motion, Slay and Avonte Maddox had to cut outside to cover him, and they were both late. Slay on replay appeared lackadaisical getting back, and though he expected the help, that never came. Clearly, Gannon thought putting 3 defenders on Kelce and Toney should have worked. It didn't. He would go on to talk about, again, that he feels bad about what happened and feels like it was his fault. And that's what you should do as a defensive coordinator, now head coach. You take the blame. Now, is it all Jonathan Gannon's fault that Philadelphia gave up 38 points to the Kansas City Chiefs last Sunday? No. You can make the case that the secondary didn't play very well. Make the case the pass rush didn't get home, whether that was due to field conditions or not. But at least you get an answer from Jonathan Gannon here explaining that it was his fault for this. And I think most Eagle fans will accept that and move on. I think that we should. I think that I'm happy that Jonathan Gannon is no longer here. I'm very curious to see what the Eagles are going to do, who plays a defensive coordinator position, but I think we're at least in a good spot where right now you can make the argument that Philadelphia is going to be okay going forward based on all the salary cap stuff we talked about in shows last week, and we will continue to talk about going forward. I do want to show you this Jack Fitz from WIP tweet. This is I think it was an insider from the Cardinals, organization taking this tweet. It's Jonathan Gannon meeting a Cardinals player. Listen to this. This will make you very happy that Gannon is gone because it's just ridiculous.
What's up? Hey! What's up, man? How you doing? Good. Shots. Explosives. You can run. What's up?
I thought that was edited at first, and yet you watch it and it's not edited. He actually said that. Now, much like the Nick Sirianni first press conference where he stuttered a lot and compared the team to flowers and plants, people are going to overreact to that. But for 3.6 million views, it was a little bit odd to watch him go pew, 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 pew. Shots, weird stuff. A lot of Eagle fans jumped on that one. I do think that it's not that big of a deal. What's a bigger deal is this article here from Bleeding Green Nation, and that is that the Eagles linebacker coach has joined Jonathan Gannon's staff to become the youngest defensive coordinator in the National Football League. Nick, Rallis was the Eagles linebacker coach, as we will see here. He is no longer with Philadelphia, and yet he was presumably an internal option to take over as DC had he stayed. So here's this, quote, Rallis, 29, originally joined Nick Sirianni's coaching staff in 2021, came over from the Minnesota Vikings where he had experience working under Mike Zimmer. Former Eagles defensive coordinator and new Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon was also once a Zimmer assistant, though he did not overlap with Rallis and Minnie. But they obviously spent the last 2 years together in Philly, so his development doesn't come as a surprise considering their connection. Again, Rallis is going to be the 29-year-old defensive coordinator, and he was considered to be an option for the Eagles' defensive coordinator position. Rallis oversaw an Eagles linebacker corps that was strong, closer to a strength than it was a total liability in 2022. It's a big upgrade from previous years when it was a real position of weakness for Philly. TJ Edwards had a career year, was actually named to a Pro Football Focus's All-Pro team. Kazir White only allowed a 74.4 passer rating and coverage, in addition to the lowest missed tackle percentage in his career. Both players have become free agents, with the new league year begins with Nakobe Dean winning the Wings to take over one starting spot, end quote. So Sirianni now has even more work to do, as talked about. Another internal guy gone. They have now lost three coordinators, I should say, this year, and they've got to fill the offensive coordinator spot, the defensive coordinator spot, and now the linebacker coach's spot. We're very curious to see what they're going to do for that going forward. Make sure you subscribe, because whenever they do fill those spots, I'll obviously have a show. Let's move over here to some more interesting stuff from NJ.com and Cam Jurgens, the Eagles' second-round draft pick last year, supposedly the heir apparent to Jason Kelce, and what he has done both this past season and during this upcoming offseason in order to prepare himself to be a starter for the Philadelphia Eagles. The question is going to be, is he going to start at right guard and replace Isaac Seumalo, who likely will leave in free agency, or will he replace Jason Kelce if Kelce ends up retiring, which we have not heard any word on that just yet. How about this? Quote, change is inevitable from season to season in the NFL. The Eagles find themselves in the midst of preparing for a modified roster after seeing their team reach the Super Bowl, coming out 3 points short of winning a world championship. They talk about how, obviously, the coordinators are all gone, but this is the interesting part. Quote, because of all the changes, 2022 draft picks could play crucial roles next season. Offensive lineman Cam Jurgens will be part of the formula. Since the Eagles selected Jurgens in the second round of the 2022 draft, he was viewed as the heir apparent for longtime center Jason Kelce, who will mull retirement again for a third straight season. With Kelce on the team last season, Jurgens was cross-trained to play right guard, having him be available if there was a series of injuries and an offensive lineman was needed. This offseason will be different for Jurgens, since he could either take over for Kelce if he retires, become the new right guard if, as I say, Seumalo signs elsewhere in free agency, or spend a second year as a quasi-apprentice preparing to step in at either position. When asked about this, Jurgens said, quote, I approached it in the same way as any offseason. I'm going in expecting to get better and to get stronger. The offseason is a good time to work on speed, strength, and skill. When you get back to the team, you work on position stuff. Whatever the decision is, I'll be okay either way. I'd love to learn under him or play next to him for another year. That would be pretty cool. This was the reason why they took him in 2022. For all the people wanting to take a starter in the second round, which most of us do, you want to take a starter in the first round, start in the second round, and get instant impact from them when you draft them. But they really had the idea that Jurgens can either take over for Seumalo, who most likely will walk this offseason. I'd be shocked if Isaac Seumalo stays in Philadelphia, or more likely option is he replaces Jason Kelce, because I think Kelce's 50-50 right now. Had Kelce won the Super Bowl, he probably retires and rides in the sunset, has a brand new baby that came just a couple of weeks ago, and I think that's retiring is what he wants to do. But I think he also understands the team is special. He understands that he's still playing at an elite all-pro level, and one more year with one more chance to win it all might not be a bad idea either. So we'll see, but I love the fact, thumbs up for Jurgens being flexible, doing what he should do, and that is be able to play multiple positions, and whether it's right guard or center, I think he's going to be really good for Philadelphia for many years to come. All right, final story here quickly. Our NFL national story of the day comes via SI.com and Cowboys Country from Fan Nation. This came from multiple sources and is all over the internet today. Quote, Cowboys intrigued by Ohio State quarterback CJ Stroud in NFL draft. This is interesting. Here you go. Quote, the Dallas Cowboys have a contractual plan with one quarterback, Dak Prescott, and a developmental plan with another, some prospect at some point in the April's NFL draft. But in Dallas, search for either a backup to Prescott or an heir to him is a revelation. The Cowboys find themselves, quote, intrigued by Ohio State quarterback CJ Stroud, an NFL source tells CowboysSI.com. I don't know the how, the source said, but Dallas is absolutely intrigued by Stroud. Stroud is, of course, something other than developmental in the sense that he is considered to be among the top 2 quarterback prospects in the draft alongside Alabama's Bryce Young, and Dallas has the number 26 pick in the first round. That obviously makes the how of Stroud to Dallas challenging. Another obstacle, the Dak debate. As it stands, the Cowboys' plan is to extend Prescott beyond his present remaining 2 years of the deal. The plan is about both creating new cap room, an extension gives Dallas $22 million of room for 2023, and about a trust in Prescott 29 to be a franchise quarterback for the rest of his career, end quote. Now, this might just be smoke. I mean, teams do this all the time. We're going to get plenty of Eagle articles saying they're intrigued by this player, interested in that player, and they might not end up taking him. But if Dallas truly believes Dak Prescott is not going to ever be good enough to take them to a Super Bowl, why would you extend it? Seriously, right now, you probably have to get up to number 3 or number 2 in the NFL draft in order to go ahead and get CJ Stroud. Maybe at the latest, you go to number 4. So if they wanted to go ahead and take CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, you trade up to 2 or 3. You trade Dak Prescott as a part of that deal. You give Indy at 4, let's say, Dak Prescott, and then multiple first-round draft picks, and boom, you can make that happen. But you only do that if you truly believe the quarterback is what's hindering you right now in Dallas, and I think most of us would argue that's not the case. I think the offensive line has some issues. They need another wide receiver. Dallas has not been elite defensively for a very long time. There's plenty of things that they need overall, and I'd be shocked if they would mortgage the entire farm for CJ Stroud. Now, as an Eagle fan, I'm fine with it. I mean, either way, I don't think Stroud is going to be anything close to like Patrick Mahomes. He might turn out to be good, but maybe not. But having Dallas waste future draft picks on another quarterback is good news for Eagle fans, but also keeping Dak Prescott is good news for Eagle fans because Dak has proven to be completely unreliable in the postseason, whereas Jalen Hurts seemingly is going to be running the NFC for a very long time. So thumbs up for both of those options. Let me know what you guys think about the show on today's comment section down below. Plenty more stuff happening in the next couple of days and weeks. Just pumped to be still doing stuff during the offseason because I'm telling you, the offseason is going to be hot for Philadelphia. And if you like the Eagles, you like the National Football League as well, we're covering all of it here, so be sure to subscribe. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been The Thomas Mott Show.